What's up guys, welcome to today's video. For those of you that are new to my channel, I'm Mike Woodings. I do fitness vlogs. For those of you that have already watched my videos before, welcome back, and thanks if you've already subscribed. If you haven't, you can subscribe. So today I'm going to show you guys a super quick, easy way to calculate your own macros. So basically what I do is a system, it's called flexible dieting, or it's also referred as IIFYM, or if it fits your macros. So I've used this for a few years. I've done a couple fitness model shows with the WBFF. On January 1st, I actually started a cut, so I'm going to be doing 120 days, which I'm documenting here on my YouTube channel. So I started at 189.9 pounds, and right now I'm at 180 pounds, so I'm already dropped a little bit. The first few days, a little bit of water. But I'm going to show you guys basically how I calculate my macros. This is the system that I use when I'm dieting to lose body fat and maintain muscle. That way, when I get leaner, I still have like a good amount of muscle. So it's called flexible dieting, or tracking your macros. So I'm going to show you guys how to calculate your macros. First, these are just the steps that we're going to go through throughout the video. So first, you got to find your maintenance calories. So your body needs a certain amount of calories to stay the same. For example, I started at 189 pounds. If I ate my maintenance calories, I would have just stayed right there at 189 pounds. I wouldn't have gained weight, I wouldn't have lost. I would have just stayed the same. So then, we've got to set a slight calorie deficit. This just means, deficit just means a little bit less calories than your body needs for your maintenance calories. So there's also what's called a calorie surplus. That's slightly more, or it could be way more calories than your body needs. That's going to cause you to gain weight or body fat, or build muscle too. But so you got a calorie deficit, a surplus, and your maintenance calories. After that, we're going to find our protein intake. So how you set up your macronutrients is going to be really critical to like what happens when you're in a calorie deficit. If you don't eat any protein at all, or very little protein, your body's going to end up going through muscle. It's going to burn muscle. So you want to make sure that your protein is dialed in and you have the proper amount. Too much protein, you're just kind of wasting. Then from there, we're going to set our fat intake. So fat, we're trying to lose body fat, but this refers to dietary fat. So that's very important. It's a nutrient, and your body needs it for brain function and other body functions. Then also carbohydrates, we're going to find that. That's going to be the last step. So protein, fat, and carbs are what are called macronutrients. Macro means big, and nutrients means something that your body needs. So it's basically like a nutrient that your body needs in large amounts. Knowing the definition, we don't want to limit or totally take out any macronutrient because our body needs them. Now, some people function better at higher protein, lower protein. Some people higher fat, lower fat, and different amounts of carbohydrates. You kind of got to play with the amounts that you use and see how your body feels. So first step, we're going to find our maintenance calories. So guys, I forgot to mention, this is mainly going to be focused on people that are trying to lose body fat, like if you're doing a cut or trying to get really shredded, or even just get like pretty lean. But I will talk a little bit about how you can use it to like add muscle. So first, we're going to find our maintenance calories. By the way, guys, the reason I do a simple method is because I used to work at this really like fancy kind of chain gym, and they had all these crazy methods. You hook up like these oxygen masks, you sit down for 20 minutes and breathe, and do all these like metabolic tests, and it was super expensive, and it took a long time, and at the end of the day, there's no real exact way to know how much calories your body needs unless you're like tracking and constantly, checking your weight against how much calories you're consuming to see what your actual maintenance calories are. So I like to just do a real simple, takes 5 minutes. This is the way that I've done it before in the past, and it works great. It's what I'm doing right now. So basically the formula that I use is your body weight multiplied by 14 to 15. So I use a range depending on the person. For myself, I use 15 because I'm pretty active during the day. We have a 4-year-old, so I'm constantly playing with him, running around, going to the gym. If you're like a little bit smaller or you're sedentary, I would recommend using 14. If you got like a little bit bigger frame, or you're like super active, you do like construction work, or you're constantly walking around, I would use 15. Okay, so we're going to calculate my wife's macros for her. So she's 120 pounds right now, and I'm going to use 14 because she's a little bit smaller. So we're going to do 120 times 14. It's 1,680 calories. Really good math, right? So that's going to be her maintenance calories. 1,680 calories. Now the only way to know for sure is for her to start tracking and see what happens with her body. I also went ahead and calculated my own calories. That way you guys could see like the difference between, like, my wife's 5'5" and weighs 120 pounds. I'm almost 6 foot and I weighed in at 185 pounds on January 1st. So I'm going to use that as my starting weight for my macros. So I calculated mine out. I used 15 for my number and I got 2,775 calories. So I'm going to use that as my maintenance calories.
And that's for a deficit, right?
No, that's to maintain.
Oh, maintain. Okay.
Yeah. So this is maintain. Next, we're going to go into calculating the calorie deficit.
Okay.
So I put a range here, 250 to 500 calories. So that would be the amount that I recommend eating below your maintenance calories. For myself, I have 17 weeks of cutting, so I have a long time. If you're going to be a little bit more aggressive, then go for 500. I want to start at 250 calories and then kind of work my way down. So I can always adjust my calories and lower. Like if I'm not losing weight fast enough, I'll just drop my calories or increase my cardio. Discussion for another day, but right now we're just going to talk about food intake. So for my wife, I don't want to start her calories off too low, because if I subtracted 500 calories from 1680, she's almost at like 1,000 calories. So it's not very much at all. So we're gonna stick with 250 and then probably keep that there. And so we're gonna subtract 1680, subtract 250. We're gonna get 1,430. So for me personally, I'm gonna use 250. So I'm going to subtract 250 from 2,775, and I'll get 2,525. So these are going to be our calories that should enable us to lose body fat. I want to apologize to anybody that's not in the United States, and I just taught how to do it in pounds. So you're just going to take your weight in kilograms, multiply it by 2.2. That'll give you your weight in pounds, and then you're good to go. You can just plug it into the other equations. So what we're going to do now is calculate our protein intake. We've got my wife here. Since you probably haven't seen her on the channel, this is not what she looks like. This is me right here. So we're going to use a range here as well, 0.8 grams to 1.1 grams of protein per pound of body weight. So if you're really overweight, if you've got a lot of body fat to lose, you don't need 1 gram of protein per pound. Like for example, if you were 300 pounds to start, your body doesn't need 300 grams of protein. So you're gonna want to use like a 0.8. If you're like really lean already and you're trying to like get super shredded, your body's gonna need more protein to hold on to that muscle that you have. So you're going to use a higher number, like 1.1. Some people recommend like 1.5 or like really high amounts of protein. It eventually gets to be really expensive to eat that much protein, and it's kind of a waste. Your body can only process so much protein. So we're going to use 0.8 to 1.1. So my wife's already pretty lean, so she's just trying to get like be able to see like six pack and everything. So we're going to use 120. We're going to multiply it by 1.1. That gives us 132. That's going to be grams of protein. So 132 grams of protein. For me, I did 185. We're going to multiply it by 1.1 because I'm pretty lean. My body fat's probably about like 14%. So I'm going to put a little picture right here of the different body fats. That way you guys can see kind of like a rough estimate. All right, here's where I'm at. I'm at like 20 or 30%, and then you can kind of base it on here. Like if you're like probably like sub 15, I go at least a gram of protein per pound of body weight. So for mine, I multiplied 185 times 1.1, and I got 203 grams of protein. Next up, we got fat intake. It's 0.35 grams of fat per pound of body weight. Just to make that clear, per pound. Okay, so we're going to 0.35 to 0.45. So you can find that by taking your body weight multiplied by 0.35 or 0.45. So the reason there's a range, it really depends on the type of foods that you like. If you're somebody that really likes fat, like for example nuts or seeds or avocados or like peanut butter, like almond butter, things like that, then you want to go with 0.45. It's a little bit higher, so you're going to be consuming more fats. If you're somebody that really craves like pasta or cereal or bread, things like that, then you want to go with 0.35 grams of fat. I'm kind of in the middle. That's why I went with a random number. So for my wife, she likes carbs more. She prefers carbs. So I did 0.35. So she's 120 pounds, multiply that by 0.35, that's going to give her 42 grams of fat. So right here, this is where I have all the macronutrient intake. So if you see in my videos, I put the food and I put like 132P, that means protein. P for protein, F for fat, C for carbohydrates. I wouldn't recommend going any lower than 40 grams of fat, just because dietary fat's super important for like your brain function. So my wife's good right there at 42. We're going to keep her at that. So if I needed to make any adjustments to her macros, it's going to be mainly from carbohydrates. So for myself, I did 185, multiplied it by 0.37. Just kind of picked a random number. I do like carbs, but I do kind of like my peanut butter and things like that. Oh, I didn't even do the math right. So I do like peanut butter, but I mainly like cereal, bread. Like you see me eat toast a lot on the channel. So 185 times 0.37 gives me 68 grams of fat. So as you see throughout the series, guys, you're going to see me lower my fat intake slightly, and then there's going to be a phase where I'm really having to push myself, and I'm going to drop that down even more, and then kind of adjust it back up. But you're going to see, I'm going to teach you guys how I adjust my macros as I go through this whole series. In order to calculate your carbohydrate intake, here is the formula. So you're going to take your cutting calories. First, you got to add up your calories from your protein with your calories from fat. So I know I didn't talk about this earlier, but each macronutrient has a certain amount of calories. So 1 gram of protein has 4 calories. 1 gram of carbohydrate has 4 calories as well. 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. So in order to find your calories from your protein, you're going to take your protein intake. For my wife, it's 132, and you multiply it by 4. So that's going to give her 528. You add it to the calories from fat, which you find by taking your fat intake, 42 grams, multiplying it by 9, which gives her 378 calories from fat. Then you add those two together, which would be the number. I did it on the calculator. And you would take your cutting calories, so your maintenance, subtract whatever. For her, it was 250. For her cutting calories were 1,430. So then we're going to subtract her protein, calories from protein, plus her calories from fat, which is going to give us 524, which is going to be calories from carbohydrates. So since there's 4 calories in each gram of carbohydrate, we have to take this number, 524, and divide it by 4. That's going to give her 131. So she's going to be consuming 131 grams of carbohydrates. So we'll write that right here. So now my wife's macros are set. She's going to have 132 grams of protein, 42 grams of fat, 131 grams of carbs. For myself, my cutting calories were 2,525, and I'm subtracting my calories from protein and my calories from fat. So I add the two together and then subtract it from my cutting calories. So that gave me 1,101, which is my calories from carbohydrates. I divide that by 4, since there's 4 calories in each gram of carbohydrate, and get 275. My macronutrient intake at 203 grams of protein, 68 fat, 275 carb.
But that's for cutting, right? For bulking.
That's for cutting. Yeah, for bulking is different. You would actually add in whatever calorie surplus, like 250 to 500. If you want to be real aggressive, you're going to gain weight faster. And then your calories from carbohydrates, you would just take your calorie surplus number and then subtract those, and then divide it by 4. The very last thing that we need to talk about is your fiber intake. It's pretty simple. For women, they recommend 25 grams daily. For men, they recommend 38 grams daily. So on top of hitting your macronutrient goals, fiber is going to come under the carb category. So within these 275 grams of carbs, I want to make sure that I'm getting 38 grams around there. So probably like 30 to 38, I'll be fine. For my wife, she wants to get in her 131 grams of carbs. She wants to shoot for about 25. If you get too much, like if I eat 70 grams of fiber, I'm going to feel nasty. And it's going to be hard to go to the bathroom. So too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. My wife asked a really great question, is with these macronutrients, is that something that you eat every day if you are lifting weights or if you're resting, like on a Sunday? I always rest on Sunday. So on a Sunday, am I eating less calories than this to compensate for not going to the gym or not doing cardio? My answer, to keep it simple, is no. So toward the ends of my prep, I'm going to be going from doing cardio 6 days a week and working out 6 days a week to a day where I'm just completely resting. I like to give my body a day to rest, just relax. And I don't want to be sitting at home and not eat any calories, because like we got the kitchen all stocked up. And on a Sunday, I don't want to be just sitting here at the house, like hanging out with my family and have a headache because I'm not eating very much carbs, or just feel out of it, or just be thinking about food all day. So I do keep my calories and my macros the exact same on a rest day. It's one day out of the week, and I'm pushing myself pretty hard like during the week in my workouts and in my cardio. So I figure one day a week's fine. If I do like lose a little bit of progress, it's fine, because I'm just gonna put the gas pedal to the floor on Monday. So and I can enjoy a nice meal with my family because I have the extra macros. So that's my outlook on it. So guys, that's a super quick, easy way to calculate your own macros. I like doing it myself. That way I can always adjust it, which I will show you guys in the future, like how to make adjustments to your macros. In my next video, I'm actually going to show you guys some foods that I like to eat and that my wife can start eating to help her and myself hit our macros, and you guys can try it at home. And I'm also going to show you guys an app that I use to track my macros. Super easy. You can actually scan the foods with your smartphone. I actually have it linked up to my Apple Watch, and I can actually check right now like how much protein, fat, and carbs I have left for the rest of the day. So it makes it super easy. But I hope this was helpful, guys, and if you guys go back and watch the video, you can take screenshots so you guys can see the equations or calculate it as as you're watching the video. But if you have any questions, just leave a comment down below. I always respond to the comments. So if you have any questions, or if you guys already know how to calculate your macros, help out the other people down in the comments. That way everybody can calculate their own macros. We can all get going and start the new year off right. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching the video. Give it a thumbs up if you've liked it.